Hello, everyone. This is Josh with Synchronized Universe Podcast. It's been a little bit since I've recorded an episode between work and battling, mental illness and depression and all the above. Plus people being in town, staying with me. I just haven't had the time or the energy to make a new podcast. But here I am today, making a conscientious effort to get some information out there to chat with people who might want to listen. I've had a couple of people pushing me to record more and do more. And it's just fun. It's an outlet for me. This is all this really is. I honestly don't really care if anybody listens. This is for me, realistically, at the end of the day. I like to learn about things and I like to share what I learn in hopes that maybe it'll get people thinking. Anyway, I was, pouring through the current medical drama going on in our country and going through, all the different studies on vaccine trials, and I keep hearing, talking about placebos and how they always use placebos when we're doing, talking about medical stuff, and, or like when they're doing blind medical studies, they use placebos. But what is placebos? What is the placebo effect? And, they never really ever go into detail on what the placebo effect is and why it works. So why is it that when you give somebody a medicine, and tell them that it's real, that it works a lot of the times? What is it? How can that possibly be? And why is that not, more heavily studied? And on my last, I think it was my last podcast, or either that or the one before that, I talked about the subconscious mind, and the placebo effect is linked to the subconscious mind. So I don't really know why there's not a lot more study in this area. Probably because this is like one of those gray area, you start to get into the quote unquote pseudoscience, of our minds. And it's just one of those things. So like, it's really all in the power of your belief. Like if I were to give you a medicine and tell you, hey, this is going to heal you, blindly, you can get a water pill. And a lot of people have these, crazy healing effects, it works. And why is that? It's because in our minds, we have the ability to heal any illness in our body. Our mind has the ability to heal any illness. And, this is something that all the ancient civilizations were aware of. We, essentially our bodies are literally designed to live forever. At some point in time, our DNA, was, changed, whatever you want to call it. Something happened to where we stopped living forever, or living long periods of time. Because if you look in the ancient records, for instance, even in the Bible, like the ancient people, these people were said to have lived thousands of years. Methuselah, for instance, 900 years. And then you go back to the Sumerian records, and they got stories of their people living, 40,000 years. As crazy as that may sound, science has showed us that, our bodies literally should be immortal. But for whatever reason, we start to age and, our bodies stop working, stop healing. And why that is, nobody really knows. But, yeah, so back to the, placebo effect. I've always found it quite fascinating, and like I said, nobody ever explains it. They don't go into detail, they don't go in, there's no, there might be a study. I haven't seen any studies, but it's something I find fascinating. There's all sorts of, if you look it up online, there's all sorts of different stories about how people have been able to heal, miraculous healings, if you want to call it. They call it miracles. And there's just no explanation for how these people can get better. And that's the other reason, so for instance, cancer patients, they always say to cancer patients, you need to have a good attitude. Your attitude is everything. Because if you start to go downhill and be like, yeah, I'm done, I'm gonna die, your body's gonna give up on you. Simply because you've given up. If you say every day, I'm going to beat this illness, or even, pray or doing a little mantra every day, you have a higher possibility that your body is going to release the healing power of your mind, or your mind is going to release the healing power and heal your body. And that's key. Mindset is everything. That's the whole idea behind positive thinking. It's the way, the way we work, the way our minds work is, we attract things into our experience based on our habitual thought patterns. Whether or not you want to believe it, I don't really care. It's true. It's facts. And the sooner people realize that, the sooner we as a society can progress beyond this materialistic world. We have the ability to exert control over reality. We are co-creators. That is what we are. We are the embodiment of the divine. We are literally the creator experiencing itself. And we are co-creators. Anything and everything around you in this world came out of the mind of man. That is one of the Hermetic principles. That's the ancient Egyptian stuff right there. But everything around you, every building, everything came out of the mind of man. It was once in someone's mind, and then it was made manifest. We are co-creators. Just like that, we have the ability to not only heal ourselves, but, essentially, we are basically God. Just in smaller, little bitty pieces. Now, whether or not you believe that, that's fine. I'm here to talk about stuff that I've learned and stuff that I'm passionate about. That's okay. I have quite a few skeptical friends. I have quite a few scientist friends. And that's fine. I like skeptical people. You know why? Because it's good to have these conversations. It's good, to be able to present facts, to be able to present these scientific studies that nobody ever hears about. Do you know why you don't hear about it? Because at some point in time, there was a separation of science and spirituality, when in reality, just like Nikola Tesla said, once science starts studying the non-physical phenomena, it's going to make a lot more progress in, I forgot what he said, I think it may be 10 years than it did in the entire history of science. And that's because they're linked. They're one and the same. There is so much science to spirituality that is not being covered by the mainstream outlets, the National Geographic. They're not studying it. They don't have any interest in that, because I'm not sure why. I can only speculate that it's in terms of control to keep a certain narrative, but it's hard to prove. We can go down the conspiracy rabbit hole all day long, and you can get, I can present you, hundreds of facts that would steer you in that direction, but it's all just, it's hearsay because it's hard to prove. However, it does seem like we're being kept in the dark on a lot of things, on our true history, for instance, and I don't know why. Why is that? Maybe because they want us to be good drones and not question anything and just make the elite people money. That's probably about what it is. Technology is one of those examples. I knew I was going to dive down this rabbit hole. But anyway, technology is one of those examples. If you think about it, cars really haven't changed that much since they were invented. They've changed shapes, but the way they work is pretty much the same. We should be way more advanced than the cars we're driving right now. We should be way more advanced than the planes we're flying in right now. But if you start to ask these big questions, what would go away if, for instance, we had flying cars? Our entire infrastructure would collapse. We would no longer need roads. We would no longer need planes. We would, there's these laundry list of things that, people who in high places wouldn't be making any more money. So do I think that technology has been purposely suppressed that would free our civilization? Absolutely, without a doubt. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of whistleblower reports of people talking about these advanced technologies that are kept hidden from us. That's beyond the scope of this podcast. I was really starting on the placebo effect, but it's okay. I can talk about whatever I want. Anyway, so it's important to remember, look into this stuff. Look into, when they're talking about placebos, when they're talking about these alternate forms of medicine, look into it. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it that we're not being told. And it's sickening to me. There's a lot more to what's going on with the current COVID situation. I'm not going to mention anything like that because I would like my podcast to not be taken down. My opinions are okay. My opinions are going to be kept to myself on the entire thing. However, I think that people should always have the right to choose what goes in their body or not. And one thing I will say, it's not about who's choosing not to get this medical procedure. It's not about any of that. What we need to ask is, as a country, how did we get to the point where so many people do not trust the government? More than half of the people in our country do not trust the government officials. They do not trust the medical system. How did we get to that point? What about our history has led us to that point? Think about that. It's not about that these people are choosing not to get this and they're putting everybody at risk. It's about the fact that our government has become so untrustworthy that half the people would rather potentially risk the safety and the safety of others by not getting this medical procedure. Like, think about it. Why are we not asking these big questions? Because I'll tell you, if you look into history at all, any research into history outside what you were taught in school, you will see that the government is no one to be trusted. The government is not worthy of your trust. The pharmaceutical industry is not worthy of your trust. These companies that are being sued every year for their chemicals or the products causing cancer are not worthy of your trust. They make billions off people being sick. If we were all healthy, they wouldn't be making money. They profit off sickness. These companies are not to be trusted. It's the same instance, of the tobacco industry. A long time ago, they used to tell us that tobacco was safe. They had commercials and, press conferences. Tobacco is safe, it's okay. And then only to find out 20 years later, oh yes, we've known it caused cancer all this time. We were lying to you. Do you think that kind of stuff is not occurring now? Do you think that the world just magically, changed its tune and all these rich people are telling us the truth and they have our best interest at heart? No. No, they don't. And do I honestly think that they're trying to depopulate the world with this? No, I don't. Because these people ain't going to do their work for them. Somebody's got to do the work of society. Somebody's got to be, Bill Burr said it, the comedian. They need the drones of society. They need the people doing the work. Like, is this selling us something that they're making absolutely astronomical amounts of money on? Yes, absolutely. And again, I'm not going to mention it. I'm sure you guys can put the 2 and 2 together on what I'm talking about. At least, whoever listening to this. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Again, ask yourself the big questions. How do we get to this point as a country where this many people do not trust the government officials, do not trust the office, and do not, when you're asking these questions, don't make the connection, it was so-and-so's fault or so-and-so's fault. No, this has been a collection of government officials for the past several years. We're talking, 10, 20, past decade, 2 decades of presidencies. It's not the orange guy. It's not Sleepy Joe. It's everyone. Every last one of them that hasn't been telling us the truth, that's been lying, that's been just outright, concealing information from us or lying. I already said lying. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent again. But that's the thing. You got to ask these big questions. Why is it that we don't trust the government officials? That we don't trust the health officials? And I implore you, start to research. Like, for instance, there's a good one to watch. The Untold History of the United States on Netflix is a good one, directed by Oliver Stone. It will open your mind, okay? It will open your mind. The history of not only this country, but the entire world is littered with BS. Absolute BS. You need to remember that history is written by a group of observers, and none of them are impartial. None of them. Every country is going to make themselves out to be the good guys, and just do some research on history. Actually watch some documentaries. Actually pick up a book. Go to the library. Read. I'm not talking about watching Joe Blow on YouTube, even though there are some good YouTubers. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thank you all for listening. I truly appreciate you. This is Josh with Synchronized Universe. Until the next time. Sorry about the baby in the background. In case any of y'all heard, I'm kind of hanging out in front of the kids' school, trying to pick up my kids. I'm just a regular person, picking up my kids from school, doing the dad thing, working every day. But I truly appreciate anyone and everyone who took the time to listen to me ramble. Again, this is Josh with Synchronized Universe. Have a great day.